In this video, we'll introduce you to the basic concepts of the control bar control. The control bar is primarily intended for use in a panel card's header or panel card's footer, and it provides an alternate way to create the controls that appear in the header or footer of a panel card. So if you look here, you can see we have a very simple UX component, and in the panel header over here we have some text, and if we go back to design mode, we can see that this component is designed using the traditional approach of creating a panel header and then putting individual controls inside the panel header. But when you use the control bar, you place the control bar in the panel header or the panel footer, and then all of the controls that appear on the control bar are defined in the control bar builder. So let's go ahead now and delete this static text, and now go ahead and add a control bar to the panel header. So we'll just move that into the panel header, and you can see we now have a control bar builder where we can define the controls. So let's go ahead here and start out with our control bar builder, and you can see that the builder has several different panes over here. So the first pane is the data pane. This is where you can define any data elements that the control bar needs to use. Now in the case where you just want to display some simple static text that doesn't change, you wouldn't need to define any data. But let's go here and create just a single data item called app name, and we'll go here and we'll set the value of this data item to my first application. So basically this is the data that this control bar is going to use, but as I say, it's not a requirement to define data. Most control bars though will use some data. Then we can get to the items tab. Items are the things that you actually put on the control bar. So these are the things that are displayed on the control bar, and there are several different types of items. So if we add the add button here, we can see that we have HTML items which are used to just display text. We have buttons, we have button toggles which can have either two states or multi-state. We have button lists which allow you to create lists of buttons, one of which is typically shown as being depressed, or a disclosure button, which is a button that will display some type of pop-up. So let's start out now with a simple HTML item, and then we can go here and define the text for this item. So we can bring up the builder here and we can type in any text that we want, or we can simply refer to the data item that we previously created. So now this HTML item will display whatever the contents of this app name data variable is, and you'll notice that we're using curly brackets here, which means that we're actually using Alpha's client-side templating syntax. So you can use the full power of the client-side templating library when you define the HTML over here. So now we've defined our HTML item. Since this is just HTML, it doesn't have any actions associated with it, but the actions tab is where you define the JavaScript actions that get executed when the user taps on a button, for example. And then we get to the properties, where you can define basic properties of the control bar. So the most important of which is the edge. So the control bar edge can be set to top, left, bottom, or right. So top and bottom will cause the control bar to render horizontally. Left and right will cause the control bar to render vertically. So we'll leave those all at their defaults right now, and then we'll go to the control bar layout. So the control bar layout is where you actually define the appearance of the control bar, and a control bar can have multiple layouts, just like a list control can have multiple layouts, or a view box has multiple layouts. And the reason that you might want multiple layouts is you might want to define a control bar that is used when your phone is in portrait mode, another layout when your phone is in landscape mode, another layout when the device is a tablet, and yet another layout when the device is a desktop browser. So you can create as many layouts as you want. So let's go ahead here and create our first layout, and we'll just choose the suggested name of layout number 1. So layouts themselves are comprised of lines. So a layout has one or more lines in it. So most layouts will typically have So we're continuing our video now on an introduction to concepts in the control bar control. So we've created now a new layout called Layout 1, and as mentioned, a layout can have one or more lines. So typically most layouts will have a single line, but the line itself is divided into three sections: a before, a middle, and an after. So before is really left if in the case where the control bar is rendered horizontally, but if the control bar is being rendered vertically, then before would be top, middle, and bottom. So in this case our control bar is being rendered horizontally because we are docked to the top edge, and so basically before here means the left edge. So we want to put some HTML text in the middle, so we'll go here and say add a line, and then we've got the three sections of the line, so we'll go here and say HTML1. So when we add our control bar items to the line, we can also use these two special items, Separator and Spacer. So Separator will put a very subtle line between the items, and a spacer will introduce a specified amount of space. So we'll go ahead there and just choose HTML over there, and you can see as soon as we do that we get a preview over here of how the control bar is going to look. So let's go ahead now and click the OK button now, and then let's go and save this and run it. And now we'll see that we have basically what looks just like our previous UX component, but this time the content of the panel header is being rendered by a control bar and not by a static text. So in this particular case the control bar is so simple that it doesn't really represent much of an advantage over putting a static text control into the panel header. But as the control bar gets more complex and you have controls on the left, the center, and the right, and you need to lay things out very carefully, the control bar is a huge time saver and gives you lots of additional capability. So in future videos we're going to go through additional features of the control bar, but what we've shown over here is a basic introduction to the control bar concepts. Thanks very much for watching.